have a great matchup on Monday Night Football tonight as the Ravens host the Lions in a battle of two high-powered offenses. According to Elias, tonight will be only the third game in Monday Night Football history between teams that scored 40 or more points the previous week. Lamar Jackson is 24-2 in his career against NFC teams, with the only losses coming against the Giants in 2022 and the Eagles last season. Jackson's 24-2 record against the NFC is the highest win percentage against a conference by a starting QB since the 1970 merger. Happy to welcome in Peter Schrager this morning into First Take. And let's start the conversation off with you, Peter. Which QB still has more to prove in big games? Is it Jare Goff or is it Lamar Jackson?
Thank you for having me. I think it's interesting how we describe big games. And I'm not trying to take the glamour of tonight's game down any notches. This is a big game in the NFC and big game in the AFC as far as standings go and all that. But to me, big game is biggest moments. And I saw Jare Goff down 13-0 in the Superdome lead a Rams team that was a big underdog past Drew Brees, even though Drew Brees got the ball in overtime first and the Rams made all the plays. I've seen Jare Goff win an NFC championship game on the road. Cam Newton, I have covered you your entire career. I saw you throw for 335 and 2 touchdowns and rush for 2 touchdowns in an NFC championship game where you beat Carson Palmer. Jare Goff has won that NFC championship game. And as much as Lamar is the man on Monday Night Football, 7-2 record, and as much as Lamar dominates the NFC, I don't think a week 3 win over the Lions qualifies as big game when we're considering Lamar Jackson's career. So as much as I hate to say it, I need to see Lamar in the playoffs get that big win. And beating C.J. Stroud and the Texans is cool, and beating Ryan Tannehill and the Titans is cool. But I would love for us to be celebrating a Lamar Jackson AFC Championship game win over a Josh Allen, over a Patrick Mahomes, and finally put that behind him where we're like, all right, there is no holes in this guy's resume. He has done it on the biggest of stages. And unfortunately, when they were home 2 years ago in an AFC championship game, the offense stalled. And then last year in the first half of that AFC divisional game against the Bills, the offense stalled. Lamar has done a lot of things in his career. Winning that huge game is the last thing left.
Yeah. So, Pete, you made a lot of valid points, but I think I'm going to go with Jare Goff. Why? Never has Jare Goff beat the Baltimore Ravens. Did you know that, Pete? He's 0-3. And one of those things is this. It's not losing to a Baltimore Ravens team. One of those losses was 19-17, and that's respective. But the other two, in the famous words of Stephen Anthony, they got their ass whooped. 45-7. 38-6. So you're talking about somebody who needs to prove something. I think Jare Goff needs to take this personal because every single time he plays the Baltimore Ravens go into their closet and go get the leatherest, pleatherest, qualityest belt that they can find, and they go to work.
Not the belt. Stephen A. Smith, what say you?
I'm going to roll with Cam on this one. I get where Peter's coming from. He's not off because I was tempted to say that myself because when we talk about big games, obviously we're thinking about a Super Bowl, one that Jare Goff played in and one that Lamar Jackson never has gotten to. And so we look at it from that standpoint. But the Super Bowl isn't the only big game. It's the biggest game, but it's not the only big game. And when you look at Lamar Jackson, for example, I'm just looking at this brother. He's 20-6 lifetime in all primetime games. Last time I checked, primetime games are usually a big game. He's 22-3 at home in primetime games under John Harbaugh. We can't ignore that. And then I'm looking at he's got the best passer rating in Monday Night Football history at 124.3. His numbers with Jare Goff are relatively identical in terms of their record. They're both 7-2. In terms of Monday night games, completion percentage, Jare Goff is 71%, Lamar at 69%, net yards per game, Jare Goff's at 277. Lamar Jackson's at 275. TD passes, Lamar Jackson's got him beat 22-19. interceptions. Lamar Jackson has never thrown an interception on Monday Night Football. Jare Goff has thrown 6. And so when we look at it from that standpoint, I'm just saying, if we're talking the biggest game, Peter, if we're talking in a conference championship game, we're talking a Super Bowl, okay, that's different because Jare Goff has gotten to two conference championship games and to a Super Bowl. That has not been Lamar Jackson. That is our dude Lamar Jackson's only been in the AFC Championship game once, if I remember correctly. So we got to look at all of those different things and say to ourselves, okay, that's not the only big game. There are other big games. And those other big games, Lamar Jackson has always shown up. So I think the answer to this question would be more so Jare Goff, especially since Jare Goff struggled the way that he did against the Commanders last year in the postseason, even though they were bereft with injuries.
No doubt. And I that's on my standard for Lamar might be different than it is for Jared Goff, and that's moving the goalpost. I look at Lamar Jackson as a Hall of Famer. Okay. And you can make the Hall of Fame without going to the Super Bowl.
So do I.
You know, Warren Moon made the Hall of Fame without going to the Super Bowl. Dan Fouts made the Hall of Fame without going to the Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers might do it also. I look at Lamar in that conversation. Jared Goff's a great quarterback. He's a top 40 all-time quarterback in all the stats, and he's won games. But, like, to me, that is the last piece for Lamar, the last piece. And I want it for him. I think we all do. I would hate for us to be looking down the road at a Bills versus Ravens game, and all of a sudden Lamar doesn't bring its best again. Or it's Bills versus Chiefs, and the offense just stalls out again.
And it's a different conversation.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, we're having Super Bowl conversations in September. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Like, this is either way, the win for the Detroit Lions or the win for Baltimore Ravens is going to be a statement type of win that each coach will say, hey, I feel good about this win. We found ways to win. But when you start to say, like, hey, I need to start taking this personal, never mind the postseason, never mind the statistics. Hey, every time I play a team and they got my number, I have to do something about that, right? So for Jare Goff, you have the amenities around you, bro. Like, there's nothing else that needs to be done. How are you going to will yourself to a win when your team needs it most? And that's what I'm going to be paying heavy attention to, right there. We know what Lamar Jackson can do. We know what his standard is, and it's unfortunate that he's in a position to be critiqued like no other quarterback is. But for Jare Goff, it's one of those things that, hey, every single time you play this team, you struggle. Like, what is it about that? So are they? And that's a very interesting statistic.
Well, Cam, I appreciate that, but let me help you out for a second, my brother. You know what? You talked about Super Bowl talk. Let's pump the brakes. We ain't doing that here. We gonna put our foot on the damn gas because we talk about Lamar Jackson. Just like when we talked about you. You don't hear us talking about Super Bowl when we talking about Dallas. You don't hear us talking about it when we talk about the Giants or the Chicago Bears or the or some of these other teams in the National Football League. But when it comes to certain cats, yeah, we could do that. You know why? Because their greatness demands it. Once again, it ain't throwing shade. It's just talking about the level of expectations that comes attached to you, to your greatness. If you don't have it, ain't nobody talking about it. But if you have it, you damn right they're going to talk about it, because when you look at the Ravens and the Lions that's going to be on Monday Night Football tonight, it is not beyond the realm of comprehension that both of these teams could end up in the Super Bowl. They both have the personnel that it takes to get there, which is what makes a night like tonight so interesting and compelling. Damn right, we're going to put our foot on the gas. We ain't taking our foot and putting it on the brake. We ain't doing that.
Especially when both of those teams have been in the Super Bowl conversation for the last couple of seasons. It's all gas, no brakes. Come on, that's how you came in here this morning. All gas, no brakes.
I like where we at.
I like where we at.
Y'all need Cam to stir the pot.
That's what you wanted.
There you go. I kicked the pot.
That's what you wanted. That's what you wanted. All right, time for a quick take from the WNBA where